Well, Putin's war in Ukraine has hit another major setback for the Russians as one of their premier warships was severely damaged by a fire on board yesterday. The missile cruiser called Moskva was loaded with explosives, and as the fires spread, the crew was reportedly evacuated. And just now, this is breaking news, breaking report from Russian media claiming that the warship has actually sunk as it was being towed back into port. This comes from the Russian Ministry of Defense. The Ukrainian governor of Odessa claims that a Neptune anti-ship missile hit the Russian missile cruiser, a claim that neither the Pentagon nor a spokesman for President Zelensky have yet to confirm. But whatever caused the damage, the war continues to show the Russian military as extremely vulnerable to Ukraine's counterattack. So has Putin hit a dead end? Joining us now is General Jack Keane, retired four-star general and Fox News senior strategic analyst. This is interesting breaking news, General, that we just got that the ship has actually gone down. Is it possible that a Neptune missile could have taken that down, fired from shore to 60 miles out into the sea?
Yeah, it's possible, certainly, because of the secondary explosions that you're likely to hit. I mean, obviously, you can hit fuel lines and ammunition, which cause significant damage to a ship. It's remarkable what has transpired here, because, as you indicated, David, I mean, this is their #1 flagship in the Black Sea, and they've done a remarkable job here. Neptune missile is actually a Soviet-style anti-ship missile that the Ukrainians have. They wanted also our Harpoon missiles, but they don't have the launchers for those. This is a big deal because what is taking place here, the Russians want to own the southern coast of Ukraine and therefore deny the Ukrainians access to the Black Sea, where this incident took place, and the Sea of Azov. And as such, that would force Ukraine, David, to be a landlocked country, and it would be devastating to them economically because they depend so heavily on their exports that go largely by sea out of the country. So yes, the fact that the Russian Navy is being put at risk and actually vulnerable by this humiliation is really quite significant.
You know, that's really the word that I was looking for. It is a humiliation. I mean, the Russians are being humiliated by a force that they thought they could just sweep through. But this is not the first ship that has been attacked successfully, if in fact it was down by a missile. You had that ship that was in port, the Russian ship that was in port. And if they get more of these missiles, of course, they are Ukrainian missiles, but if they get more, and you now have that $800 million shipment, and I heard you earlier say that it's not so much the amount of money, it's the type of weaponry that's going to be included in this shipment that is particularly helpful at this point, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is obvious that the White House and the Pentagon are in communication with the Ukrainians and giving them exactly what they have requested. And this is the most significant shipment we have made, because this shipment makes the transition from where the Ukrainians had been on defense so that they can be more on offense, and particularly, David, in the Donbass region where the terrain is more open and flat, and it's very conducive to armor operations. And so, yes, these weapons are exactly what they needed and what we have been talking about for a couple of weeks ourselves. So you got to give the administration some real credit here, because it's not just the type of weapons, but it's also the volume of weapons that are going in there in terms of armored vehicles by the hundreds, and also artillery and counter-artillery radar, which is absolutely vital to the Ukrainians, because the Russians are so heavily invested in radar. The counter-battery radar can pick up artillery that's fired by the Russians immediately and return fire and destroy that very tube that fired that weapon. So very significant what has taken place here.
By the way, a little more information coming out of the Russian media, and of course I don't trust anything that they say, but they still claim it was not. The ship was not put down because of a Ukraine missile strike, but they do say that what ultimately led to the ship sinking as they were towing it into port was the detonation of ammunition on board. And of course, that just shows the importance of these ships to the Russians. They've just been bombing the heck out of using missiles, all kinds of bombs going into Ukraine from the sea. If they don't have that anymore, that really limits their capability of getting that land bridge you were talking about.
Yes, well, they want that land bridge. They've wanted this since 2014. They were not able to establish it then because of the Ukrainian resistance, which was modest by comparison to what the Ukrainians are putting up today. So, yes. But it also shows the problems that the Russians here, they've demonstrated full out that their land forces are really not up to par and anywhere close to it. And their air power also, the fact that the Ukrainians to this day are still operating air defense systems and flying their own MiGs around the country is stunning after 50 days that the Russians have not defeated Ukraine's air defense systems. And here comes the Russian Navy also demonstrating a degree of incompetence.
Yeah.
So, listen, don't give up on the Ukrainians here. Yes, the Russians are consolidating their forces, but they are the same forces that have demonstrated incompetence for over a month now. The Ukrainians really have an opportunity here to crush the Russian military right inside the borders of Ukraine. That is an opportunity. It's not a guarantee. It's going to be an uphill fight for them, to be sure.
Yeah.
But with the added capabilities that the United States and NATO are giving them, it is certainly giving them a leg up in doing it.
Now, some people looking at it, there's a former advisor to Vice President Pence who wrote in the Wall Street Journal today kind of a provocative piece saying, it's entitled, "Send NATO Troops into Western Ukraine." I just want to read a bit of that and get your quick reaction. "Western militaries can and should operate inside Western Ukraine, far from Russia's ground operations in the east. A decisive show of force inside Ukraine would signal to Mr. Putin that the West won't tolerate Russian attempts to redraw borders by force." Should we be going that far?
Well, no. I mean, if we do something like that, pursuing into Russian airspace and having to deal with conflict operation with Russian engagements, that changes the whole nature of things. The Russians are sitting right next to Lithuania, a place called Kaliningrad, and they've got an arsenal of missiles and other weapons there that they could fire almost immediately into Lithuania as we go into Western Ukraine. The author there is not thinking through the problem, in my judgment, in terms of what the actual realities. Is it nice? Would that be helpful? Yes, it would be. But we've already made the point here that we're not going to go into a war with Russia unless they provoke us.
Gotcha.
That's the policy. That's NATO's policy. And at talking about it at this late date, I'm surprised it's
General,
still in discussion.
I made a mistake. It was in March that this article came out, but again, he was sticking by that story. So but you're not in favor of it, obviously, for good reasons, and particularly since we just had the Russians threat a nuclear strike or a nuclear armament within the Baltic seas, and that sort of provocative action might increase the risk there. We got to leave it at that. General Jack Keane, great to see as always. Thank you for updating us on this situation. Appreciate it.